Leica just released the 28-70. I already own a 24-70. It is much bigger, much heavier, much longer. So should I upgrade, and are 4mm going to make a big difference in my workflow? Let's see. Leica released the 24-70 f2.8 on June 17, 2021. So we are talking only 4 years between these two lenses. So in terms of focusing speed, how loud or how quiet these two lenses are, I have not noticed such a big difference. I find them to be very similar. So that's not going to be a game changer or deal breaker in any way, shape or form. I am currently using the Leica SL3S, which is the latest iteration. I used the SL2S for many years, and this is now my go-to camera body. When you pair this camera body, which by the way is not the lightest, to this new 28-70, you notice a big difference right away, obviously. And I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. As I said, they both have a constant f2.8 aperture. They're both weather sealed, so if you're going to be using them in a rainy day or in a humid and or dusty environment, you can do that. I did it in the past with the SL2S, the SL3S as well, with the 24-70. So I know that's not going to fail me, and I know that works great. Never had an issue whatsoever. Now here is where you start seeing bigger differences. The filter thread of the new 28-70 is 67mm as compared to 82mm for the 24-70. That's 1.5 centimeter difference. And if you put them side by side, you will notice that difference. It is much, much smaller, and it in fact became the smallest zoom lens from Leica. The other difference is the weight. I've put both these lenses on a scale to see for myself what's the weight, keeping the lens cap and the lens hood. And the newer 28-70mm weighs only 632 grams as compared to 917 for the previous 24-70. So we're talking almost 300 grams difference between these two lenses. Some of you will say, well, 300 grams is not a lot, but I think when you're using an SL system camera, 300 grams does make a difference, especially when you're shooting for longer time periods. For example, if you're shooting an entire wedding, or like I've been doing for the past 2 days, you're shooting an event pretty intensively, you will like the fact of having a little bit less weight on your shoulders. Minor detail that I do want to mention, the lens cap now holds. The 24-70, for those that know, when you clip it, it is a pain to make it stay, and it comes off very, very easily. In fact, yeah, okay, no, never mind. And the new 28-70, you take it off, you put it back on, it stays in place, it doesn't move. Minor detail, but to me that was a big annoyance. Let's talk about the length of these two lenses. Here again, big difference. We're talking 102mm for the 28-70 compared to 123mm for the 24-70. That's a difference of 2.1 centimeters. It is not huge, but you put them side by side and you do see a difference. So between the diameter of the filter thread and the height of these lenses, there's a huge package difference. And that is going to be, to me, one of the key factors in potentially upgrading from the 24-70 to the 28-70. Now, what about those 4mm between the two? When you go lower in the wide angle spectrum, your lens will become bigger. The front of the lens is going to become bigger. That's a fact. That's something that we can't really change. So when you're shooting events, be it weddings, be it pretty much anything, even studio work, do you actually need and use those 4mm or not? I personally like to have that flexibility, to have a little bit of a wider field of view, especially when I'm shooting a wedding or when I want to get close to people, when they're like hugging the bride or the groom, and you really want to have that immersive look. But it's true that 28mm has become a focal length that I kind of got used to. For example, the Leica Q3, Q2, and Leica Q in general, that's the focal length, and it does work well for most of my documentary type of photography. So it's not going to be that big a deal to me to lose those 4mm and to swap to 28-70, because this is going to make my entire package really smaller. It's going to shrink it down a bit, and it's not a gimmick. It's true. It's becoming smaller. And in terms of sharpness, I haven't had the time to test them or to compare them. But for the test that I've done so far for the past few days, the event that I've been shooting, I noticed that 28mm is actually pretty good in terms of sharpness. I normally tend to close down at f4 and not shoot wide open at f2.8, so I don't really care if it's really sharp or not, because for my photographic needs, once again, it doesn't matter. Worst case scenario, the solution, which is a little more expensive, but worst case scenario, you can get a third-party manufacturer lens that's, for example, a 16-24 or something a little wider, or even a 24mm prime that you might use those times where you need to go wider. You can quickly swap, take your shots, for example, a venue, a location, or whatnot, like a big, assembly of people, whatever it is, and keep the 28-70 on your camera and use it for your daily photography. I do think it is worth considering trading from 24 to 28, simply because you're trading 4mm for a much smaller and lighter package. And at the end of the day, for those like you and me, if you're an event photographer, we know how much of a pain it is to go around with a heavy lens. There, I hope that answers your questions. Which lens do you currently own? Do you have a 24-70? Do you have a 24-90? Are you considering swapping to the 28-70? Let me know in the comment section below. If there's any other question that I did not answer, I will gladly answer them. Just write it down in the comment section below as well. And I see you in my next video. Stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe if you like my content. Cheers.